Hi, welcome to my second lecture of Python tutorials. In this lecture, we will see how we can take our user input from a user. To take an input from the user, we use an input function. So we can just write input and then we can write a prompt which will be asked to the user, a prompt or a question which a user will answer to, or user will uh, give a value to the question. So this is just a prompt. So let me just write, please tell me your name, and this prompt will get a value and it will pass the value to the input function. So how will we use the value? We can use the value by giving it or by assigning it assigning it to some variable. So let me just make a variable called name, and now this prompt will get a value, give it to input, and this input function will pass the value to the variable name. So this is how input works. And always remember one thing, this input function always gets a value in a string. So anything user will write here, it will be a string. So this name will always be a string. No matter if we put age here, it will be still be a string. So let me just tell you what I mean by this. So let me just print hi. Okay. So let me just run it, and it is asking me, please tell me your name. This prompt. Okay. This prompt is being run right now, and if I write Bob Wilson here, so the name Bob Wilson will be given to this input function, and this input function will give this or assign this name to this variable called name, and this variable name will be printed here. So let me just press and enter here. So it will say hi Bob Wilson. So it got an input and it printed the input. And what I really meant by this name variable is always a string, because input function always return a string. Okay, the input function always return a string, so this variable name will always be a string. Okay, so let me just prove it to you. If I print the type if I print the type name, if I print the data type of this variable name, and if I run it, and if I input some value as Bob and enter it as a string, let me just run it again. If I write 21 here, now 21 is not a string, it is an integer, right? 21 is an integer. So if I press enter, it is still calling it a string, because the input function always return a string. So in the computers or in the interpreter mindset, this value is in the form of this. Okay, like 21 written like a string, like a sentence. So this is not a mathematical 21, this is just a sentence. When we write a sentence in English, and we just wrote 21 inside here, this is not an integer, this is just a string, a sentence, because the input function always returns a string. So how do we overcome this issue? We overcome this issue by doing typecasting. So we will discuss typecasting in detail in the next topic, but let me just give you a simple explanation of what is typecasting. Typecasting is basically one that converting one data type to another. So Typecasting is just converting one data type to another. And how do we convert it? We convert it by using the function name as int, float, or str functions. These are the three functions we can use to convert anything um, into the data type of these names str, int, and float. So let's just say if I wrote int here and put all the before our input function inside the int function. So this is the int function now, and I've put the input function inside the int function. That means the input function string value will be converted into an integer. So what I meant by this is, if I run this right now, and if I write my name here like Bob, it will give me an error. It will say Bob is a string and you can only write an integer inside here. Let me just show it to you. Saying invalid literal because Bob is a string and string can't be converted into an integer. Okay. Now, but if I write 21 here, it will give me a class integer. Okay. So if you ever need to take input as let's just say you want to get an age, you will use an integer. But if you want to get name, there is no need to typecast it into integer because it will already give a string as a result. Okay. So if I want to get name, I can just write input, please tell me your name, but because it will already return a string and name is also a string. So, but if I want to get age or if I want to get something mathematical or something with a value, some value like 1, 2, 3, then let's just say age, then I will have to wrap this up in an integer function, okay? Because let me just say if you're getting input of age, if you're getting an input of age and the user in our software they input a name here. Sorry, please tell me your age. Let me just run it once again. And it is asking for age, okay? And user puts the age as 21 and it is returning 21, but this 21 is a string, not a integer. So we can't just perform mathematical functions to it, okay? We can't perform mathematical functions to this string. Like if I want that this age gets incremented by 1, if I want to add plus 1 in this age, I can't do that, okay? If I run it and if I type 21 here, it will give me an error because I can't add 1 in the age because 1 is an integer and this age is a string right now and I can't add 1 to a string. These both should be integers or some mathematical value to add it, okay? So that is why we need to typecast it into an integer. Just write integer int and run it again. And if I type 21 here, it will return me 22 because the age will get incremented by 1, okay? Age will be increased by 1. So this is how we can take our input from the user. Now let me tell you more about typecasting and how typecasting actually works. So what is typecasting? Typecasting is basically conversion of one data type to another. Okay, so how do we convert it? We convert it by using some functions like int, str, and float. So let's just say I have a variable called age, and the age is 21. So this is not a integer, this is a string. I can't perform any mathematical functions on this string because this is a sentence, not an integer. And now I want to fix it later in my code. So instead of making another variable or removing this variable from the code, I can just typecast this variable age. By doing so, I can just write int of age. Okay, int of age. I converted this age variable into an integer. Okay, and let me just put that value into some other variable to use it into the future. Um, Let me just make another variable known as real age. Okay, so now this real age will be used here. If I print real age here, and this real age is now a integer. So it is giving me a value of 21, but this real age, this is now an integer, not a string. So let me just see the type of it. And if I run it, I get an integer. But if I run the type of age, not real age is now an integer age. Okay. Now if I run the type of age, what I will get is I will get string. Okay, because this age is a string and then I converted this age into an integer and put the value into real age. Okay, now this real age is a integer and this age is a string. So this is how typecasting works. So let me just give you some other examples. If I have variable height and its value is 5.10, okay, and I typecast this height is a floating point number, okay, this height is a float, okay, and now I want to convert this height into an integer. How I can do is I can just write an int and I can pass the name of height here, and let me just pass the value to some variable. And how I can do it is I can write the name of the variable as int height, okay, or we can give any name like a or any other thing. And if I print a right now, what I will get is I will not get 5.10 because the 5.10 is now converted into an integer. I will only get the answer 5. Okay, I only get the answer as 5. So or we can do it in other way as well. If height is 5, now that means this height is an integer, and because heights are not in integers, we want to convert this height into a floating point number. How I can do is I can just write float here, and I can convert this height into a float. Height is right now an integer and I want to convert this height into a float. Now I will not get an answer 5, I will get an answer 5.0 if I run this code. I got this answer 5.0 because this variable a is now a float because I converted the height variable into a float and given the value to variable a. So variable a is now a floating point number or a decimal point number or a float data type. So if I run type of a and run it, I will get class as float. So this end of today's lecture, and in the next lecture we will see string concatenation and multiplication.